Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the build. We are now on part 4 of our Polar Lights U.S.S. Reliant build of the 1/1000th variety. Let's get to work. I got my painting done for the rear section here. As you can see, those little areas were masked off to help simulate the lighting we see around those shuttle bays. It looks pretty good from here. I'm just hoping once I get my blue paint in there that everything will still be nice and bright and those will light up. I also masked off the sides here. You can see right there. We're getting some good light into those little vents there on either side. We still have to do our red transparencies on our impulse engines, but that's not such a big deal. I'm just test fitting it in here to see what it looks like, and yet still getting the light through all of my masked off areas. I have the decals for the window ports here on the bottom of the saucer. These decals are just the window ports themselves, no other detail. So I'm using them as a guide for cutting them out. We'll just come in here with the pin vise, just cut those all out. This is the easiest part of the window cutting process because of these nice guides. The rest of the windows have detail around them, which is unfortunate. The other unfortunate thing is this hull, as you can see, is smooth. There's no indicator where the window would be. They went to an all decal model. So we have windows also on the upper hull, around the BC deck, and in these areas here. We have to figure out where those are and cut those out. Here's our decal sheet with all of the windows. We have some up here, but the majority are down here. As you can see, around these windows we have stuff like sensor bands and other assorted details. I do not want to lose those details. On these ones for the upper hull, we have a nice grid pattern that I like to keep intact. So how are we going to use the windows and keep the details? Well, the first thing we're going to do is cut those decals free from the decal sheet. I'm going around the decals here very carefully with my X-Acto blade. I cannot stress enough, use a brand new blade when doing this. Otherwise you will not cut the decals, you will rip the decals, and that is good for no one. Here are all the decals we need free of the sheet, and I'm just noticing that right there. I actually went and painted that. I didn't need to. Oh well. Now we pull out the light table. I have my decals on my light table, along with some wax paper over the top of that and some masking tape over the top of that to prevent anything from sticking or destroying the decals. I'll go in with my graphite pencil and I will mark off where those windows are now that I can see them through the tape. I will also mark off the edge of the decals so I know where to place them on the hull. And here's what it looks like once I'm done marking the window placements and the decal edges on my masking tape. All my windows are cut out. The issue I was having was with the elongated windows. To cut these out, I would have to drill 2 holes. The problem was, when I cut into the tape, it would create a bulge, and I couldn't exactly see where to cut the secondary part of that shape, and I would often cut it wrong, as you can see. I could fill these and try to redo it. That never works out. What I should have done was transfer the graphite onto the hull itself. What I really should have done is put the money down for the paragraphics set because that includes window stencils. These ones up here didn't turn out so bad. I have my blue paint on my shuttle bays now. I did one very light coat so we can still see through them. I also have my red transparencies in for my impulse engines. We have the detail painting on the bottom done with that gray. I also installed that crystal there and a little bit of fiber optic into it. I have this LED strip here as a test for our lighting. This does light up all of the windows at the rear and around the hull here. This will also be used to light up our impulse engines and anything on the back section there. We have our gray details painted in on top, also our crystal in place. I painted the top silver, the underside yellow, as I was getting a really nice subtle glow from the lighting setup I have. An amber LED would just be too bright in there and wouldn't give me a very nice even light. On the underside, I have some transparencies hot glued into these windows here. Those look really nice when lit up. I've already tested those. And we have some Molotov in here just for some light reflection. I now have all my saucer LEDs installed. That ring at the front lights up our edge windows along there, and I have a 3-strip there and there to help light our BC deck. This strip in the back lights up all of our windows here and our impulse engine and our shuttle bays. That bulkhead there is now in place with the shuttle bay and such. We have 4 strips up here. Those 2 near the back light up those windows, and these 2 in the front light up our windows at the bottom of the saucer. Now I'm going to put these together and do a light test. I just snapped the bottom and hull halves together, this being a snap-tight kit. It is fairly easy to get back apart, so I'm not worried. There's our lights. There is that large gap at the front, but that's because there is a wire on the inside that's popped up a little too high. I'll address that before I glue it together. You can see our front running light there. And underneath we have the windows lit up around the sensor dome, and even our little crystal at the back, the little pinpoint of light from our fiber optic. We have the rear crystal lit up. Looks pretty nice. And then all this in the back. We have our shuttle bays lit up, and our impulse engines, and even the vents there that are on the corners are lit up. You can see there. The windows on the side are nice and bright, as well as the lights around the perimeter of the saucer for those windows, and the ones on the top of the hull as well. This turned out really, really good. Just ignore the gap there, that'll be gone. But those lights in the shuttle bay are actually casting light on the door. That is way better than I expected, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. So that is where we're going to call it for this part of the build. Next part, we're going to be working on the bridge, get that finished up and lit, get the sensor dome finished up and lit and installed, and then it's installing the nacelles and the roll bar, and ready for decals. Actually, we're going to have to do some decals on the roll bar underside before we install it, and I think on the hull too before we install it. So that is for next time. I want to thank all my old subs. I want to thank all my new subs. You guys are equally rad, and until next time, you guys take care.